For years, the world watched America and China move closer to economic war. Tariffs exploded, supply chains collapsed, factories panicked, and the two most powerful economies on Earth looked ready to completely separate. But then, Donald Trump stepped off Air Force One in Beijing, and behind closed doors, something changed. Not with explosions, not with threats, but with deals. Massive deals. Boeing aircraft, agriculture, rare earth minerals, and two mysterious new institutions designed to prevent economic chaos between the United States and China. Most people saw diplomacy, but investors, governments, and billion-dollar corporations saw something else, a warning, because this meeting may have quietly reshaped the future of the global economy. And tonight, we break down what Trump and Xi actually agreed to, why both sides suddenly want stability, and why the new Cold War may not look like war at all. To understand why this summit matters, you have to go back to the beginning of the trade war. When Donald Trump launched tariffs against China, Washington believed it could pressure Beijing into changing decades of trade behavior. But China didn't back down. Instead, the world entered one of the most dangerous economic conflicts in modern history. Tariffs hit billions of dollars worth of goods. Factories scrambled to relocate. Prices surged. Global supply chains cracked. And suddenly, the idea of decoupling became real. The United States wanted independence from Chinese manufacturing. China wanted independence from American technology. The world economy started splitting into two systems, and everyone lost money. Even worse, both countries discovered something terrifying. They still depended on each other. America needed Chinese manufacturing. China needed American consumers. US companies needed China's market, and China still relied on critical Western technologies. The deeper the conflict became, the clearer one truth appeared. Neither side could afford total separation. So why did Trump suddenly go to Beijing? Simple, because the global economy was becoming unstable. China's economy was slowing. America faced inflation pressure. Markets feared another trade escalation. And one issue terrified both countries more than anything else: rare earth minerals. Most people have never heard of them, but rare earths power modern civilization. Electric vehicles, missiles, smartphones, AI systems, military technology, advanced chips, and China controls most of the world's rare earth refining. That gave Beijing leverage, real leverage. Meanwhile, America still dominated advanced aircraft, semiconductors, and critical technology systems. Both countries held economic weapons against each other, and both knew escalation could spiral out of control. So instead of full economic war, Trump and Xi chose something else: controlled competition. The headline agreement was massive. According to the White House, China agreed to purchase at least $17 billion of American agricultural products every year: corn, beef, pork, wheat, soybeans. For Trump, this was politically powerful. American farmers had suffered heavily during the trade war. China had once been one of their biggest customers. Then tariffs crushed exports. Now, Trump could return home claiming victory. But this wasn't just about farmers. It was about stability. China needed reliable food imports. America needed export markets, and both sides needed to calm economic fears. The deal wasn't revolutionary, but psychologically, it mattered. because it signaled something important. The world's two largest economies no longer wanted chaos. Then came the second surprise. The White House announced China would make an initial purchase of 200 Boeing aircraft. That's enormous, because Boeing desperately needs China. China is one of the largest aviation markets on Earth, and during political tensions, Chinese purchases slowed dramatically. Now suddenly, the doors appeared to reopen. But there's another reason this matters. Aircraft are symbolic. When China buys Boeing planes, it signals improving relations with Washington. When purchases stop, it signals tensions. So this wasn't just a business deal, it was geopolitical messaging, a signal to investors, to corporations, and to the world. The US and China were trying to stabilize the relationship, at least temporarily. But the most important part of the summit may not be the money. It may be the system they created, a new board of trade and a board of investment. At first glance, these sound boring, but they could become some of the most important economic institutions in the world. Why? Because the US and China are trying to create permanent crisis management systems. Instead of reacting emotionally, they want controlled communication, structured negotiations, predictable responses. That changes everything. Because the biggest fear in global markets isn't competition, it's unpredictability. And the trade war became dangerously unpredictable. Now both countries appear to want mechanisms that prevent escalation before it spirals. Not friendship, not peace, just stability. But beneath all the smiling photos, the real conflict never disappeared. Technology. This is where the true battle is happening. Artificial intelligence, advanced chips, semiconductors, military computing, cyber infrastructure. America still dominates many critical technologies. China wants access. Washington wants restrictions, and neither side trusts the other. That's why the summit avoided detailed announcements about tech, because this issue is too sensitive, too strategic, too dangerous. The economic war may cool down, but the technology war is accelerating, and that could define the next decade. Most people think this summit was about trade. It wasn't. It was about managing the future of global power, because America and China are now trapped together, too connected to separate, too competitive to fully cooperate, and too powerful to ignore each other. That creates a dangerous new reality, a world where economic warfare replaces traditional warfare, where AI matters more than oil, where supply chains become weapons, and where diplomacy becomes economic survival. The Trump-Xi meeting revealed something deeper. The world is entering a new era. Not globalization, not complete decoupling, but selective cooperation inside strategic rivalry. And that may become the defining economic model of the 21st century. The headlines focused on Boeing planes, farm exports, and trade boards. But the real story is much bigger. Two superpowers looked over the edge of economic chaos and decided to step back, not because they trust each other, but because the cost of instability became too dangerous. The trade war changed the global economy, but this summit may shape what comes next, a future where America and China compete, negotiate, threaten, and cooperate at the same time. Because in the modern world, power is no longer just about armies. It's about supply chains, technology, resources, and who controls the systems the world depends on. And after this meeting, one thing became clear. The global economy will never look the same again. If you enjoyed this deep dive into global power, business, and hidden economic warfare, Subscribe for more stories about the forces shaping the future of the world, because the biggest battles today are no longer fought with bullets. They're fought with money, technology, and control.